Well. Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Wednesday night and a bad night for the Lakers. We are your hosts, the Game Injury Doc and Eric B. Mack on my right. And tonight was one hell of a night for the Lakers, or I would say one hell of a night for Minnesota Timberwolves. How you doing, Eric?
Not good, man. Not good. Season is officially over. Coming into it, thought it would be really tough to get this game. I didn't think it was your traditional, like we saw earlier with Houston and Golden State, Game 5, like the home team wins and then loses in 6. I mean, I was kind of thinking this, but when you saw it unravel before your own eyes, it was terrible. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong. They obviously hung in there a bit, and it looked like Minnesota was going to pull away. And I guess a semi-credit to them that they, made it close. But wouldn't you know, just like the last 3 playoffs, I don't give a shit if it's AD in there, Luka, fourth quarter, they just fall apart. Against Denver, it happened. Against Minnesota, it happened. And it's just going to continue to happen unless just, I don't know. I mean, we can't have any more changes. We've had 3-4 head coaches the last few years. But I know we're going to get really obviously into the game. But obviously, as you can see, it's pretty frustrating.
That's to say the least. As always, everybody, we are the Hoops Rehab Show. You can follow us on YouTube and also on Instagram. And then our individual handles are at the Game Injury Doc and at Eric B. Matt at all the social media sites. If you can, please follow, subscribe, like anything, share our platform. And we really appreciate if you guys are commenting during the show, especially on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll try to get through everything, especially tonight is one of those nights where everybody's probably got to let loose a little bit. And if you got any comments or frustrations or questions about Lakers' future, let us know.
It's going to be a therapy session for you guys out there. We're all with you. We're going to be speaking our minds, venting a little bit, obviously. So we are here for it, believe me. And obviously the game just ended about 10 minutes ago, and it wasn't pretty. But thank y'all.
All right, so let's break down this game. I mean, we don't have to break down play for play or what their schematics were and things like that, because obviously the Lakers are not advancing. But my first thought with this game is, what did you think about JJ Redick's strategy of playing Jackson Hayes 0 minutes and just having him sit there on the bench with his warmups and not even, no matter what, playing him a minute?
So hindsight is obviously a beautiful thing. And in theory, we knew it was going to happen. We thought maybe Vando would be in there, but the way they, obviously they lost game 4, but that unit played pretty well. But you just knew that Minnesota they knew Lakers were going to do this, right? And they probably looked at that second half, and they most likely saw where they can pick that unit apart, and that's with size, and that's what ultimately they did. Honestly, the first 4 games of the series, the Lakers actually had a lead for 6 minutes of the game. Some games were more than others, but if there was one thing that was consistent, was a good start. And then tonight, it was the exact opposite. They obviously dug not a huge hole, but a 10 to 12 point hole. And so when they came back to be up by 2 or tied, obviously it just took a couple shots for Minnesota to kind of get control back in control of the game. So, I mean, they were desperate. And when you start seeing teams change starting lineups and things like that, it's probably inevitable that it's going to be ending soon. So, I'm not too disappointed in it, but I'm disappointed that I feel that they thought the same thing was just going to happen like it did in game 4 in the second half. Like, I don't know. It felt like, we were playing checkers and Minnesota was playing chess, and they were a step or two ahead of us. And here we are. I mean, before you say something, I just saw the stat. Minnesota was 7 for 47 from the 3-point line, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That's the only reason this was ever even remotely close, by the way.
They had missed 18 threes in a row before Conley made that corner three. So you knew they were having a terrible shooting night. I like to get into just that first quarter, right? So we definitely set the tone in a bad way, and let them dominate the boards. Obviously, Gobert had 9 points in the first quarter, which was the most points he's had in a game this playoffs. And he had that in the first quarter. And that set the tone overall for what the Lakers are going to have to do. They made a great comeback. They took the lead. Everybody got their hopes up and everything like that. But ultimately, what cost them the game was giving up the offensive rebound. I mean, that was completely, utterly insane how many boards they were getting, or at least deflections out to the 3-point line. Rudy Gobert was a monster, obviously, in this game. He had 27, 24 rebounds. And so if I were to guess, that's probably his best playoff game ever. I think he's pretty much up there with that. It's funny because at first, after the first quarter, I thought it was a terrible decision, obviously, to go completely small. Then as the kind of game went on and I realized, I think this is what JJ is trying to do. And I felt like they were trying to funnel everything to Gobert, and then also just to keep Gobert on the floor. He played 39 minutes, which is the most he's played in this series. And so I think JJ's strategy was, if we have Gobert on the floor constantly, we have a better chance to win the game. And it may have looked like it was kind of leaning towards that idea, but then Randall took over in the fourth. Anthony Edwards had a better game as well towards the end of the game. And I think that was a difference maker for them.
Yeah, rebounds. So 54-37. Minnesota rebounded the Lakers 18-8 on offensive rebounds. So Minnesota had 11 more shots, right? And that's the difference in a 7-point ball game. And so I could see that. I can see where, let's not let let's not let your Nas Reeds of the world beat you, because he has been just really killing them. And so if Rudy's in there, that means Reed's most likely not in there. Played together a bit, but I think they just kind of took what the Lakers gave them, and it's like, it was just so frustrating though, because it's like, I get it, but it's like, if he's just going to be in the lane dunking, he's going to score, right? And so the Lakers literally didn't have anybody, and so that was the big concern, right? And we just were thinking, man, hopefully they don't play a team with size. And even I was thinking, okay, obviously Minnesota has size, but maybe because we do have a lot of length, in terms of for the positions, we don't have any, everybody's in that 6'5" to 6'8", 6'9", right, range. And so I thought that would cause fits, but obviously Gobert had a game of a lifetime, and I really think that was by design. They knew Lakers were going extremely small, and they were like, hey, throw up some shots. If we hit them, great, which they didn't. But it didn't matter because he was there for every freaking rebound. It was just so stressful and so frustrating because they couldn't do a damn thing. And obviously I do want to, obviously we'll get into the individual performances on some of our guys, but Ant didn't have obviously a game. I know in the fourth, I'm just got to look at his numbers. Yeah. He had Anthony Edwards had 15 points, Mike Conley 8, but that 3-pointer, man, I was like, damn it, are you kidding me? These guys that just really weren't doing much all series. Of course, they come up to play tonight. And honestly, that's a sign of a really good team. When different guys beat you every night, Lakers don't have that. I truly didn't realize it as much in the regular season. I think it was a little bit of fool's gold, playing that last 20, 30 games. I don't know. In the regular season, you're playing teams that are not playing guys all the time. You're playing obviously shitty opponents here and there. They did well against some good teams though. So that kind of makes you feel like, oh, okay, maybe they had something. But when push comes to shove, in a series, your flaws get magnified. The Lakers, sad to say that this is the first Laker team to lose in the first round of a playoffs when they were a top 3 seed. And so we talked about all damn end of the season long what it meant to be a top 3 seed. And this team ends up just choking and being the first Laker team, congratulations, of losing in the first round. And so, I mean, credit to Minnesota, man, though. Hats off. They were the way, way, way better team. If Lakers would have pulled tonight off, of course, I would have preferred that. Game 6 would have just, I don't even care. That would have been such a slaughter. I wouldn't even been surprised if, they were down 20-30 by the half. So, I mean, we'll never know, of course, but yeah, just going on a tangent here because it's frustrating, but what could we do? It happens. That's what happens in sports, right? There's only one winner at the end of the day.
That's for sure. I mean, I look at one thing in particular. If you would have told me Anthony Edwards would have had 15 and gone 0 for 11 from the 3-point line, I would think.
My gosh. I didn't notice that.
Over 11.
Oh my God.
Think the Lakers would win a game. And that's how bad it was that we lost that game. So, man, Minnesota could throw pretty much everything at the Lakers this series, and they did. And their size, their length, and for me, like in the first quarter and the first half, it was just bully ball. Like they were just stronger, more physical. Like it's funny because we always, people hate on Julius Randle's game and the way he plays is maybe not necessarily the style play of today's generation, but this dude just gets purely physical and he has a nice step back jumper, especially when he gets his shoulder into, like in the fourth quarter when he got his shoulder into LeBron, bumped him off his spot and then went to his fade on his left. I was like, that's a hell of a basketball player right there. And so when you look at this Minnesota team compared to what they were like last year, and they made the conference finals last year, obviously Cat is a great player, but they have found what has worked with this team, and that's the size and the strength and the physicality that they have with a guy like Jaden McDaniels, who is just so freaking long and athletic, and he can guard pretty much anybody on the court. And then Julius Randle just playing the bully ball at that position, and then having Gobert in the middle, controlling the paint, is a pretty good team. Like they're gonna give, I'm assuming in Golden State it goes through, they're going to give Golden State a hell of a time. Because Golden State, again, is like the Lakers, where they don't have the size. Yes, they can play like a Quentin Post, or, I mean, you're not going to play the other young guys that they have on the roster, really. So or Kayvon, Looney, things like that. You're not going to play them that much. So, like, they're going to give them a hell of a time with their size. And you can see Julius Randle and probably Draymond Green getting into it, obviously, getting physical, Ant chirping at Steph. So, it's going to be a hell of a series as well. I mean, obviously, I was looking forward to seeing the Lakers, Luka and LeBron going against Steph and Draymond and all those boys. But Minnesota is going to give them a run for their money, for sure. And that's assuming they get by Houston at this point.
Just to touch on, Julius Randle. I mean, I'll take him on my team any day, man. That guy, and we did have him for a bit, obviously, and he's obviously progressed. Like he wasn't always this player, but man, he is a solid, badass basketball player. Like like I said, I'll take him on my team. He is just so physical. He's obviously developed a shot too that makes it more of a threat. He was one for 6 tonight from 3, but that was like the story of the T-Wolves. But throughout the series, he, like, coming into it, I wasn't sure what to expect from him, but he was the unsung hero. I would say, even with Ant having some ups and downs, I would say the common denominator of every game was Julius Randle. He, I want to say he probably, I have to look, but 20 plus every game. And so, next round's going to be fun. It's going to be the Warriors, most likely, but I do see that the same problems Lakers had this round, Warriors will have the same problems. And I would expect Minnesota to beat Golden State. Golden State's going to put up a better effort than the Lakers for sure, just because they're better than them right now, I think too. Jimmy Butler, obviously they're really deep. They can throw a lot of guys in. They're not going to have that problem of just playing 5 guys for 24 minutes. Like, that's not going to happen. So that alone, I think it's going to make it a good series. Minnesota will have home court, so as a 6th seed, you don't expect to get home court typically right in the playoffs. And so, obviously we have to no disrespect to Houston again, like we've been doing, but honestly, Golden State, this was just your textbook. I know we'll probably get into it a little bit maybe, but later on. But I think Golden State should finish it in 6, man. But that being said, what else did you see out there? Luka was obviously gimpy, his back, his neck, his whatever was hurting. LeBron's knee. Austin Reeves may as well have been hurt because I don't know what the hell he was doing out there. On the offensive side, he was battling on defense, I noticed. But I don't know. Like, let's just start with Austin Reeves this series. Do you think that other teams are onto something, or do you think Lakers kind of put him in a bad spot with being more of a spot-up shooter? Because I don't think that's what his game is. I mean, what can we start off with him? What were your thoughts on Austin Reeves this series and what you saw?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like when Austin Reeves has the ball in his hands, that's where he's the most effective. Obviously, if you put him kind of in space or make him more of a spot-up shooter, he's just not as effective. He's crafty with the ball. He can get to the basket. He can make plays. He's one of our playmakers. And again, like I've said, all series long, we have to get 20 assists from LeBron.
I was just looking at that. Looking at that.
How many assists did they get tonight?
17.
Yes. So, again, that was the biggest key of the series. I felt like they didn't use Austin Reeves and his kind of normal. Well, it's hard to say because when you have LeBron, Luka, right, as your 2 primary ball handlers and playmakers, that leaves Austin Reeves kind of like the odd man out. And you saw at times this year when LeBron was out and it was just Luka and Austin Reeves, they did well together. Right. When, we didn't have AD was out and it was just Austin Reeves and LeBron or vice versa. He does pretty well. Right. So I think we're going to have to figure out a way going into the future because we don't know what's going to happen necessarily, how to get all 3 of them to play together for a whole season. Right. We didn't have that this year. And I think they're going to have to figure that thing out. But I think the most important thing is I saw Rui in the press conference right now said, we have to get somebody that can rebound the ball. So whether that's a little little shot like at the big guys on the team or Jackson Hayes, things like that, they obviously have to get a playmaking big, somebody that can rebound the ball, block shots, get lobs, become that threat off the pick and roll. They definitely need to find that type of person.
100%. And yeah, some good points about Austin. So, I mean, that was the worry, right? Or when we made that trade, we kind of were like, as a fan base, we were thinking like, oh, I don't know about this year with that trade, but they ended up seemingly, pretty much being in sync. And we talked about it a few shows ago. Like the time is now. I mean, you can't, think about like next season, the season after. Obviously, now we are, of course, but your best opportunity is the one in front of you, unless you're like some young team like OKC a couple of years ago, or if you have injuries. So, obviously they had a real good second half of the year, and so we had high expectations. But that being said, there wasn't a lot of practice time to really get in sync for those 3. I thought it was like, all right, Luka, it's your turn to get the ball. ISO, double kick. And we just, I don't know. We just, on nights, we had like that one night against OKC when we made like 22, 23 3-pointers. It looked great, right? But nights that we're not hitting them, it just doesn't look good. And I think, hopefully Austin Reeves definitely learns a thing or two. And again, I think we kind of did put him in tough spots because he could hit some threes. He got hot towards the end of the year, but he's like not just like this like spot up shooter type of player. If we're going to have him do that, we're not going to be able to, take advantage of his skill set, in my opinion. So that's him. What about Luka today in the series?
I have a mixed bag with Luka this series. Obviously this game was a little different because he got a little banged up, right? I felt like the Lakers made him, or actually, I wouldn't say necessarily the Lakers made him. Minnesota's goal in the series was to make him more of a scorer than a playmaker. And I thought that overall that was like the common theme for the just the series in general. Yes, today he had 9 assists and all that, but I just think overall, I mean, he had a game where he had 1 assist and he had a game that he had 2 assists. And just 2 of those games right there are just not Luka Doncic's games, right? That's not what he normally does. And so he never got above 10 assists in a game, right? That was just something that never happened. And to me, that's just not what you would want in your superstar, especially a guy that's a playmaker and 26 years old like Luka. So I think it was a combination of I'd probably more Minnesota if that was their primary objective, is make him more of a scorer.
I think so too. And so you look at in a normal situation, obviously small sample size, 5 games. So you average 37 and 6 basically. So, right. But like, we know, as you just said, like we watch the games, we see the eye test, like that wasn't Luka his best performance by, like by a wide margin. And so he wasn't a playmaker. He was more of a scorer. It was a little like, skewed a little bit. I know the Laker haters will probably say it's an excuse, but we know that games 3 and 4, he obviously wasn't feeling well, in particular game 3. And so, it's tough. I mean, I'm going to give it next season to really just assess, because I mean, he's obviously had some great playoff performances. At the end of the day, he's not won a championship, but he's got his team to the Western Finals one year. He's got his team to the finals, and that's not easy. And so obviously we knew he wasn't a good defender. Like that was like well documented before he came, and obviously when the trade happened. So that's like the one thing that I'm like, damn, if you think about our guys that we've had, LeBron, Kobe, and even Shaq just being dominant in the middle, Magic, Kareem, James, all those guys, like, and we never have really had anybody that's like kind of almost a liability on defense. And so that's what's like kind of concerning in a way. He's obviously going to make up for it on the offensive end. But that being said, that's why we have to build a team that is going to kind of match like his skill set, and then also pick him up on defense. Like, I know he's not like as terrible as he probably was this series. I think Minnesota was just a bad matchup, but that's the one thing. It's like, damn, like we're used to having like our star be kind of like spearheading. I don't even know if I said Kobe. Hopefully I did, but being that kind of like workhorse on defense. And so obviously still glad to have him. It was a mixed bag. It was a nice end of the regular season, but obviously going out in 5 in the first round while you're a 3 seed and losing to a 6 seed, albeit just a team that was 1 game behind you, wasn't, obviously a big margin, but definitely a little bit disappointing for sure.
Yeah, I think the most disappointing part about this Lakers playoff is that the confidence that they had going into it, and then talking about how they have championship aspirations and we're a championship type of team, and they literally lost in the first round. And that's just not like, maybe they weren't looking at their flaws. Maybe they weren't really, they were underestimating the West in general, right? Because obviously they were all close from 2 to 8. It was just all bunched up. And so I think that they kind of went into the series, and that game 1 set the tone for the series. Minnesota dominated that game, took control of the series right there, and never let it go. I mean, we got 1 in game 2, got lucky and got that 1, but they never let it go. And I think that was just, JJ kind of talked about how he regrets maybe not going as hard during the week off that they had, and not prepping them as much that game. So he did kind of admit that. But that's something he's going to have to live with and learn. And obviously he had the debacle, which everybody's bringing up in the media now, about playing the guys for 24 straight minutes in the second half. That's never been done. So there's 2 type of things he's done in this series. And I would say a third one is just this making sure that they just go extra small in this game and then they got dominated on the boards, right? So I think there's some things that they're going to obviously have to work on. But I did want to get into LeBron. And one stat that came out is that LeBron James is 2-12 in the last 14 playoff games. Right. So right off the top of my head, I go, okay, they lost in the Western Conference Finals against Denver, swept, right? 4-0. Lost last year against Denver, 1-4, right, in 5 games. And then this year, again, against Minnesota, 1-4.
5 games. So
my question to you is, what do you see LeBron's future?
We were obviously talking, and I was even today. I'm like, damn, is this like LeBron's last game? I don't think so, but I wouldn't be that shocked because he's kind of done what he wanted to do to really cap off his career, which was play with his son, Bronny James, and Lakers obviously gave him that satisfaction. They drafted him, and they played a few games together. I just think, like, from a legacy standpoint, if LeBron cares about that stuff, I'm sure he does. Like, as the years have gone on, it's tough because you play so many years, and the more years you play, like, the more like heartbreak and more losses in the playoffs you're going to have, right? So, like, for example, if he would have played the 17 years, right? Let's say he would have made 10 finals, won 4 of them, like, that would have been like, wow, like, that's like a pretty, still a damn good career that he's had. He's obviously one of the best ever. But if you get my point, like, the longer it goes, the worse, like, the more that, like, bad things can happen. Because even if he wins, what they're gonna say is, oh, it's because they got Luka and, like, he's like second fiddle now, and that's the only reason he won. So he's probably not going to be able to kind of win, if you can say, in that aspect. But he probably doesn't really care about that, to be honest. He doesn't seem like the type that does, at least externally. So I have to say, I think I've always thought it was going to be one more season, like after this season, and I think that's what it's going to be. One more year. I don't even think he's going to even say it. I was on some kind of chat earlier, and everybody thinks like, I swear, a lot of people think he's going to have a farewell tour. I just don't see him doing that. But I don't know. I'm obviously a little all over the place with it. Just this loss is just driving me crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if he bows out, but something tells me he's going to play one more season. What about you?
I mean, that was my original thought, because I thought he would want to get to 23 seasons, which would be a record, right? And the more I think about it, I don't think he's going to have a farewell tour. I don't think he's that type of player. I don't think he's going to announce anything. And so could that be just this season, right? So it's like, it could be. I mean, he's talked about it like 2 seasons ago when they lost in the Western Conference Finals. He's like, I don't know my future right now. So I think he's going to obviously have to digest this loss. And I do think, though, that Luka being traded here has sparked a little bit new life in him. However, I don't know how much he can actually hold up with his body. Not saying that he wasn't able to do normal LeBron things this series. He was, but every fourth quarter, the past 2 games before this, he had 0-0, and then tonight he had 3 points in the fourth. Right, he made 1 3-pointer. So he is starting to wear down as the game goes on. And you think about seasons of 42 games and then getting into playoffs, it's just a lot of mileage. And I don't know, like, LeBron's not going to be the type of player that just comes off the bench for 15 to 20 minutes.
No.
we know that, right? So my thing is, like, would he just go out on top? He's done everything he's needed in his career. I know he wants to win again. I'm sure that's important to him, even though he doesn't really say that's his main priority anymore. I mean, I can see it either way, but I think it's just going to be next year, and that'll be this 23. He wears number 23, or he wears number 23.
Yeah.
23rd season. I mean, there's so many storylines there. And then another year of Luka, obviously, and then probably getting some big men and making some changes around the fringes with the Lakers. So I could definitely see him coming back one more year. I just can't see him coming back any more than that after that.
Yeah, I mean, the more you talk, I'm like, man, he may, I don't know. We'll see. Because like last year coming into this season, he had obviously the Olympics, right? So he had that kind of juice. And then his, we kind of knew Bronny James was going to end up on the Lakers. So he was like, I'm not going to like miss next season. And so I think, yeah, I mean, if AD was still around and they fizzled out like they did this year, I would be like, yeah, he's probably a wrap, most likely. But with Luka, maybe some rejuvenation there. But it's just a little disheartening, honestly, as a Laker fan, because like LeBron's obviously still great, but man, unless the chips fall perfectly with their matchups and like a playoffs, I don't know if like, I mean, this was just the first round. I mean, if the Lakers would have come back and won it in 7, they would have played Game 7 on Sunday and started a new series on Tuesday. I mean, it's like if let's say if somehow Memphis would have ended up with the 6, right? I think they would have taken care of Memphis. And then somehow Houston just beat Golden State and you had Houston in the second round. Boom, boom. I think you're like, damn, like Lakers Western Conference Finals obviously would have been a different story, but it's not going to always work that way. And the West is just getting better and better. And these are all things that like we're spitting out. I'm sure LeBron's thinking about, right? He's probably got to see like what options we realistically have for next year too. Like, are we able to make the moves required to be like a championship level team? You know, because obviously there's a lot of like they're gonna look at like are they gonna be a player in free agency and things like that, or another trade? And so I think it's gonna be just a long like thought process this time. And I'd be interested to hear his press conference tonight. Obviously, we'll probably get maybe some information there, but yeah, man. I mean, he's obviously he was on an inferior team, definitely against Denver the last 2 seasons. I thought they were a better team than Minnesota coming into it. Obviously, they're not. And so, yeah, I mean he obviously brought the Lakers are more relative, obviously, now with LeBron coming because they had some terrible years. But other than the 2020 season, man, it's been some rough seasons, at least like the way it's ended. So I don't know, man. It's just we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Before we kind of get into the summer for the Lakers, and especially with Luka this summer, there's some comments. We got a lot of comments coming in. Nice. In particular, we got MTBMJ. We win this series with AD, but I am still happy we got Luka for the future. Hopefully, this might be the best possible outcome. Early playoff exit means the front office will work harder to get. I can't really see the bottom of that. But in general, what are your thoughts on the Lakers will win the series with AD?
I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree with that. I mean, thanks for the comment. I don't think it's a good thing they lost. Like, obviously, we wanted them to win. I get in theory what you're saying is like we don't want to have like that fool's gold, like win a series or 2, but really like it makes it seem like we're better than what we are. That I totally get. I mean, sure, obviously AD would have had the size, and I get what you're saying with that too. But I mean, LeBron needed another mate to kind of take over scoring, take over the ball handling responsibilities. That wouldn't have been Anthony Davis. So we'll obviously never know how it would have turned out. But what are your thoughts? You think it would have been a different result with AD? Maybe won an extra game, maybe before 2. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if Luka has had enough time to fully integrate himself into the Lakers. So I thought that was part of the problem kind of going into this playoffs and things like that, is just that when it gets down to that crunch time and LeBron's been there, Luka's been there, but separately, right? How well would their chemistry work? And I think that's the only thing that, at least with Lakers and AD, that they always had was that chemistry. Now, hindsight's 2020 though, because AD was injured for a while, right? So we would have missed a bunch of games, and if he would have came back early with the Lakers, he might have got injured like he did with Dallas, and we would have been maybe in a totally different seed and probably in the play-in. So it always it's hard to say.
Right.
If you just swapped them out and said, okay, Lakers are third seed, and we have AD, Austin Reeves, and LeBron, possibly it's a different matchup against this Wolves team because we do have a big that can dominate in the paint. Right. We didn't have a big at all. Right. So if you just took it plain out, like swap the players right now, the Lakers probably do better in this series with AD than they did with Luka at this current version of the team because we had no playable bigs. So I get that point. Right. So it's obviously excited for the future with Luka, but we just have to add the people around. And I think obviously the Lakers tried to get Mark Williams, and he would have made a hell of a difference in this series.
I wanted to bring him up.
Obviously, Connect played 0 minutes. I mean, he might have got a garbage minute. I didn't see it. I don't care. But he played 0 actual minutes that mattered.
Probably.
So if we would have had Mark Williams, he obviously would have been a hell of a difference in this series, and probably the rest of the season would have been totally different.
Yeah, I did want to touch
those comments.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you. Yeah, some good points there. I did want to touch about Mark Williams just briefly because I mean it is what it is. It's over with. But obviously they were concerned about the trade. They rescinded it, worried about his long-term health. And I mean we're obviously not in the trenches there to see what really went down, but obviously if we knew that Connect was not going to play a lick, I would have had Mark Williams on my roster all day long, right? Yeah. I mean, there's no difference. Like you're not going to play him, and I don't even know if it's a long-term play because I see him potentially getting traded this offseason anyways.
For sure. Yeah, I think that they obviously tried to trade him. And I think there's obviously that distrust in the coaching staff and him. He really never was a factor since the trade. And I think that would be hard for him in general to kind of get that confidence back. And so I think he will be a chip this season, especially this offseason with the trade. I do want to get to, before we kind of move further here, LeBron in the presser said on whether or not he's going to continue playing, he says, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. He will have to have conversations with his family and himself about how much longer he wants to keep playing. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what you expected his typical answer would be. Yeah. Just because he's obviously gonna discuss with his family, he's gonna take some time off and just kind of discuss with himself as well. But history will be made if he plays the 23rd season. And it would probably be fitting because he wears number 23.
Let's see.
If you're going for any of those type of things.
Yeah. Kind of what we expected. Like what he's the 1-2 years ago, he was real, kind of demonstrative about he wasn't sure. Yeah. Last year, like I said, with him knowing the Olympics were coming, Bronny was coming, he was a little bit more get ready for next season. And so, but yeah, as expected, it's probably a huge question mark for him as well.
For sure. We got Morris SY. LeBron James needs more help. I think the Lakers just in general need more help with getting a big. So not just LeBron, but the Lakers in general need some help there.
Yeah, I mean, Luka is definitely a big help, obviously. But yeah, as a totality, yes, they need some help for sure. A little bit more depth. Big guy, a little maybe more wing depth, and so that's something that Lakers will have to take care of in the offseason.
And we got one last comment here. LeBron tried, Luka cried, Shannon lied, Wolves in 5. You figured you're going to get one of those Wolves in 5 kind of comments there, and so we'll keep it at that. Shannon's kind of been off the grid a little bit after everything going on, so.
Yeah, I got to give shout out to a friend of mine before the series. He was saying he thought really actually dead serious thought Minnesota was going to win in 5, and I thought he was crazy, of course. Yep. And here we are. So that was a good one, though.
Yeah, that was. So I wanted to get into probably more Luka and his future with the Lakers and this summer. I think this summer in general is a big one for the Lakers, right? Because obviously we made this huge trade with Luka. However, we have not signed him to an extension just yet, and this summer would be a big summer to do that. Otherwise, he goes into next season with 1 year left on his just the year left on his contract, and would be a free agent the next summer. So, what do you see here with the Lakers and Luka?
They obviously probably, I would imagine, want to lock him up. But yeah, I think it'll be remain to be seen, because I don't have all the figures in front of me at this time, which I will get, but I believe he has potential to make more if he does wait the year. So just so you guys know, Luka is signed for next season. But after that, summer of 26, he would be a free agent. Or he can opt out, I believe, and become a free agent. So that's kind of what we're talking about here, is like, for both parties, Lakers will definitely want to lock him up, but will Luka want to? But will Luka say, hey, you know what? I want to be on the Lakers, and I don't want that distraction next season to be there. So maybe I'll just, sign the dotted line. Yeah. And then obviously it also, we'll see what it affects in terms of like their salary cap, right? What kind of flexibility they're going to have for other players. That is for Rob and team to kind of figure out. But I'd obviously be shocked if Luka is not a Laker long term. It's just a matter of when he's going to kind of sign the dotted line. But like anything else, when you come back for one season and you're going to be a free agent the next year, and say things go bad, hey, right? Who's to say he doesn't, flirt with the idea of going somewhere else? I mean, it could happen. It's happened before. So, yeah, man. I mean, it's one of many, many, many questions that are going to be on the horizon for the Lakers this summer.
Yeah. I think there's a couple big points here with Luka. Luka didn't want to come to the Lakers. Like, it wasn't like he had a destination where he wanted to come, right? Like, He didn't want to be traded from Dallas. So that's number one, just in general. Yes, he got to the Lakers, and that's probably a great franchise to go to. However, he did not request to come to the Lakers. So that's number one, right? So Luka was caught off guard by the trade. And I think we all, especially Laker fans, have to remember he did not request to come to the Lakers. Like, that's the number one thing. He was blindsided by the trade. He was emotional about the trade. He said all the right things, that he's happy to be a Laker. But that wasn't his destination. Right. And so to guarantee that he's going to sign an extension and the Lakers feel that they have this leverage is just underestimating like his emotions and everything that's tied with it. Right. So I think there's some things in my mind that like, hey, he might say, let me just get the free agency so I can actually make the decision for my future. Right. So like, I think that's something that we're going to have in the back of our minds at all times. Like, just that he didn't expect to be traded. He was blindsided by the trade. And just because he's here doesn't mean he's going to just sign with us. So I think that's going to be a big thing. Now, number two, I think there's some things that can be done to persuade him to sign. Right. So these are the trades and signing of players that would fit with Luka. I also think that the LeBron James thing just weighs on the situation a lot. Oh, yeah. Yes, eventually this is going to be Luka's team, but how much longer is LeBron going to play? Because there's always going to be that you don't know from season to season. It's hard for him to be like, well, I'm committing to this, but what is this? Right. So if I'm signing an extension for 5-6 years, what am I signing an extension with? I lose LeBron James after a year, and then I don't know who's here. It's just Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. Right. So I think there's some things that we have to get settled this year. And I'm not like fully committed that he's going to sign the extension this summer.
Yeah, I don't know. Good, like great points. I don't think he's going to sign the extension. I mean, if he does, great. But yeah, I think the few points you hit, he didn't ask to be here. Assuming he's glad to be here, seems like he is. But again, he wasn't asked. The whole LeBron James, right, year to year, kind of like cloud over our heads in terms of what the team is going to look like, and just from a financial standpoint, right? If you have potential to make more in a year, I mean, players tend to kind of go for that. I mean, especially guys like that. I know, for example, AD signed a kind of like a premature extension with the Lakers, and he even said it. He was like, I'm trying to just protect myself in case I get injured or something, right? And so it does happen at times, but yeah, I mean, everything has just gone so fast for Luka. I'd imagine got traded, boom, 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 come off injury, right in the obviously Lakers lineup, went on a playoff run, disappointing ending. So there's a lot to take in, and so yeah, man, it'll be very, very interesting. But the odds are obviously Luka will be on the Lakers next season, and he'll be a pending free agent the year after.
Yeah, and I would like to say, like, most Lakers get traded here. We sign free agents, things like that. But mostly it's like trades. We get somebody big. Obviously we signed Shaq. But we have had one person, right, Dwight Howard, who was traded here and did not re-sign with the Lakers, right? We were in the same situation where, like, okay, he's got 1 year. We're just going to persuade him the whole year. And he just did not mesh with Kobe, obviously. And that was a big factor in him not re-signing with the Lakers. So it's not a guarantee. And if it's not a guarantee, that puts the Lakers' future in a lot of doubt. Because if we pretty much lose out on signing Luka and sign into an extension, or even lose him in free agency, that'll put the Lakers back a pretty good amount for quite some time.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like Lakers would probably do it all over again, right? For like even this year of Luka and next year versus like this year of AD and next year. But yeah, I'm assuming that the plan with making that trade is, wow, we already have our next like guy for this next 6-7 years. Yeah. And we don't even have to like draft him or whatever, sign him as a free agent. So yeah, man, it's gonna be all like it's kind of what they do for Luka. I think a sign of that was the original trade for Mark Williams. I think that was like a total, like, let's get a guy for Luka, lob threat, right? The type of big that usually succeeds with Luka. And obviously we just spoke about what happened there. But I think that was like a small tell in terms of like, hey, we're going to start making decisions based on Luka. And to the point in terms of like LeBron, even for like the Lakers brass, they probably are like, hey man, we may need to like know kind of sooner than later, right? Because now it's like we got Luka, and I mean, he's our next guy. So yeah, just frustrating. I think we'd be talking about this like this early in the playoffs, but here we are, second year in a row
for sure,
5 games. It's like I feel a little bit better going into this offseason versus last year. Last year was just like, what the hell are we going to do? We're going to have the same freaking team, and it's going to be the same old song and dance that it's been the last like 3 or 4 seasons. So there's obviously a little bit to look forward to, obviously.
Yeah. And another comment from LeBron James, they asked him, what's your comment on the Lakers not having a center? No comment. My guy, Anthony Davis, said what he wanted, and he was gone the following week. So that's pretty good. That was kind of interesting, right?
Pretty good. A little snappy.
Giving a little juice to the media, and saying that he's not making the full decisions on this team really anymore. Because I think essentially when they made the Luka trade, that had nothing to do with LeBron, Rich Paul, Anthony Davis. None of those guys knew about it, and I believe that was pretty true. I mean, based on like the way they've researched it and everybody's talked about it, Rich Paul's talked about it, they had no idea until the hour of the trade. So I think the Lakers have, I wouldn't say taken back their franchise, but they've taken more control of it. And obviously LeBron is a big factor of the team and everything with the franchise, but I think they've at least taken control of some of the decisions kind of moving forward.
Yeah, that move wasn't for LeBron, wasn't for Anthony Davis, wasn't for Clutch. It was for the Lakers' future, with a sprinkle of hopefully like some success with Luka and LeBron. Obviously, that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, that's funny that LeBron said that. Obviously, everybody's a little snappy right now, and so I mean, we're snappy, so you can imagine them. They're probably a little bit pissed off about what they just saw right in front of them, and so. Going to be a long summer and off season, and it starts tomorrow, basically. Especially when you're in Lakerland, we're going to I'll start to hear the Giannis rumors, which probably will never ever happen because we just don't have the assets for it. Unless like he really wanted to come to the Lakers and like he was like, I'm not going to go anywhere else, but I don't see that happening. And so yeah, no, I'm kind of like, if it's going to be the LeBron Luka show, I'm good for just kind of getting some role players that's going to complement this team
for sure.
But
yeah,
man,
it'll be interesting to see if they can revisit the Mark Williams trade, or if that's something that is just it's because obviously the Laker doctors failed Mark Williams, so it's interesting to see if that will ever be revisited again, or obviously we'll have to move on and kind of think of somebody else in that type of role there.
I would imagine the Hornets and Lakers relationship is probably a bit strained. So, I don't know. Of course, never say never, but that could be water under the bridge at this point.
Yep. All righty. So I think we've had a lot of Lakers talk here. Obviously, it was a big story, big part of the playoffs here. And now we got to move on. We got to see what we're going to get out of the rest of the playoffs. And I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of the Rockets-Warriors series and what your thoughts were on Game 5. And if you thought that was a veteran move by the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, not obviously much to break down here. Houston pretty much got up big early. In the third quarter, Steve Kerr had the guys play for about 5 minutes just to see if there was any chance maybe to kind of dig into that lead a bit. But once it got kind of pretty much stayed steady around like the 20 to 25 to 30 point mark, you could tell the Warriors and Steve Kerr had their eyes on Game 6. Yes, the guys came in and obviously made a little run. It got down to 10 or 11, and Houston actually brought all their guys back. And so, I mean, I guess that's something you can take away from it. So they were not going to get the full rest that they were potentially going to get if it stayed kind of like a blowout. Now, I mean, obviously Houston's a little bit younger, so that's probably not a big concern. I think that more of the concern is just playing in Golden State and that crowd. And obviously we know how ruckus it is there. But I mean, I wish I could, say there was just so much to break down, but obviously Houston played well. Van Fleet had a good Game 4. He continued to shoot well today, 26 points. Amen Thompson, I think, had his best game of the series. Dylan Brooks, from a scoring standpoint, had his best game of his series. And so, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. And you can just tell Golden State, like I mentioned earlier, just that like it happens when the team doesn't have home court and they're up 3-1, when they're up 3-1, a lot of times that Game 5 at on the road, they do lay an egg. And I don't know. I see them taking care of business Game 6, but what did you see today? You think it was just kind of like we got to play the game just to play it, and we're just going to wrap this up on Friday, or what do you think?
Except for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't do that. So,
yes.
Anyways, I thought they came out with that type of energy, right? Like we'll just wait to Game 6 and finish it out. And now they're a veteran team. They have a lot of experience, and I do think they'll probably win that Game 6. However, when you don't have the home court in a series and you lose a Game 5 and you kind of give that team a little bit of a momentum, they can go get you game 6, and you coming back to Houston for a game 7 is gonna be very difficult. So I think they've created this, extension of a series that, if they came out probably firing on all cylinders, they could have finished off the game. But now they're going to have to play a crazy game 6. And I think the Rockets have gained a little bit of momentum, and the Rockets have been there in this series, right? They've played great defense. They've been there kind of every step of the way. It's been super physical. And I think some of the veteran and leadership of Golden State has proven to get the wins in the fourth quarter. So I think that's where they've been lacking. But I think it was good for Houston to bring their starters back in and actually just close out that game, because that's what they're going to have to do moving forward into game 6. So I actually I don't like what Golden State did, because it just looks bad. And sometimes you just get that, you get punched in the mouth, and then the next game you're like, oh, shoot, we could just turn it on, but you don't. And I could see this going 7 and possibly, creating havoc for the Warriors to actually win it on the road in Houston. And so it can happen. All right. So that's kind of my thoughts on the situation right there.
Yeah. And if the longer the series goes, the worst things could happen. What if Houston is just incredibly hot in game 6, right? Yeah. They can't miss, and you lose that. I do think Golden State would be comfortable going into a game 7. However, they also got to think about, I know they're only thinking about Houston right now, but they need Minnesota wrap this up. They're chilling, right? And so that would be tough if it goes to 7. Golden State wins a tough series in Houston, and then in 2 days they got to travel to Minnesota, right, to start a series. And I think that would affect them the next round. And again, they're probably not really thinking about the next round yet, but it is something to think about. And so, Houston games 4 and 5, primarily outplayed Golden State. Obviously, Golden State won game 4, and you hats off to them. But they can sneak in there and win a game, and then all bets are off for game 7 for sure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one team out there in the West that is just sitting there. Maybe drinking a pina colada, just chilling. Yeah. The OKC Thunder, and just looking at what's unfolding and seeing the Lakers go down and seeing that they got a Minnesota team coming in, possibly a number 2 seed going down in Houston, and then you kind of have the Warriors there. Man, I've seen nothing at this point that the OKC Thunder can't get through the West in this stage right now. I think if Denver does win, they have some championship experience, which should give them a little bit of a tough series. Yeah, I don't see anybody stopping OKC at this point.
Yeah, the path is definitely clear for them. Obviously, you never know. I think if it's Minnesota and OKC, Minnesota will definitely pose a challenge. But yeah, I think Thunder are definitely, if they were favorites to make the finals, they're probably even heavier favorites now.
For sure.
And so, yeah, man, they're having a good time, just relaxing. They're watching Denver and the Clippers beat each other up. Obviously a big, game 6 tomorrow there, but yeah, we'll see. Obviously for us, we're going to keep, we're Laker fans, as we mentioned many, many times, but we just love watching basketball. So we're going to cover everything along the way, and it's still going to be a fun playoffs, obviously. And obviously for us, it'd be funner if the Lakers are there, but it is what it is. As of late, we've been out in the first round, so nothing different for us.
No different. The Hoops Rehab show will be continuing and thriving throughout the NBA playoffs. So please continue to share, follow, and like and comment on all our platforms, especially the Apple and Spotify podcasts. If you can download that as well and become a subscriber, we would really appreciate it. Before we get into our last segment here, I got one last comment. Pasha Baines on Twitter: should Braun retire? We talked about this. We touched on it a little bit earlier, and my thoughts on it was that nobody has ever played a 23rd season. LeBron wears number 23, and I think he likes to have all the records. So I think he will at least be back for another season, especially the fact that they got Luka, and I think that has at least brought some more energy for him overall.
Yeah, we did touch on it. I mean, will he and should he is obviously two different questions. I mean, that's a debate that will probably go on all summer. If he retires, it is what it is. Like, I mean, maybe it's just that time, right? And so maybe it's time for the organization to kind of move on and know where we're going to be the next couple of years. But I mean, I hate to admit it to all the like LeBron haters. I mean, they are a better team with him on the ball club. I mean, he does things still that a lot of other players don't. And so if you look at his averages this year, like that's just not something you can just replace. So I'd obviously like to, see him stick around maybe one more season, but I mean, I would support him retiring too. So, but thanks for the question.
That's for sure. And finally, we're getting to our last segment, and that is called School's Out, Time for Summer Vacay. And unfortunately, we got to get out the sunglasses for our Los Angeles Lakers.
I didn't bring the towel this time.
Maybe
guys.
put the hat on backwards.
I already got mine backwards.
We got the towel. We're looking at a couple beaches around LA. We got Malibu. We got
bring this to the beach. Get some sand.
We got Santa Monica.
A pail.
We got the pail. I got my little pail here, so we can get some sand going. But
yeah, man,
Lakers did not win in 5. They lost in 5, and they will be watching the finals from somewhere else this year.
It's out. Shame. The school bus is here to pick up all the guys.
Little kiddies.
Ready to take them to the airport. 50-win season, most obviously in quite some time. Had a good season, 3rd in the West. Obviously, we had some high hopes coming into the playoffs. Very much disappointed, but it is what it is, man. It's time for summer vacay. Big summer coming for the Lakers. A lot of decisions to be made, but before that, I hope they enjoy their time in Saint-Tropez or the Dominican or Italy or wherever they go. Because Cancun.
Cabo. Yeah,
they long summer to think about what you just did. So
it's an early summer and a long summer. Get some rest, and we'll be back next year. And for the Hoops Rehab team, appreciate you guys, and we're going to continue to do this. We'll be back on probably every other night and covering all the NBA playoffs for the rest till the finals. Take care. We're out.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.